Alright, so here we go. We'll look at some of the tools here on the Home tab here. Generally, when you assembling your what I call the federated model, so we haven't talked about this much, but DWF is often the DWF format is often called a federated model. Basically, it means it's a model that has everything in it. Nothing is actually in it physically. Everything is referenced in a blank file, which is saved as DWF. So it's basically acting as in AutoCAD terms, as a big fat XREF placeholder, you might say. All right. So the way to bind everything into one file is to then save it as NWD, which is a document file, which is basically what this is. So you're looking at here. It's an NWD file. NWD is the only file that can be opened by Freedom, whereas Manage obviously opens up NWC as well as NWF. So if you're giving this, if you want to give a file to someone that was an NWF, you want to bind it or give them the NWF file as well as all the supporting files that are referenced in it. Otherwise, they won't see anything. And I forgot to mention yesterday for Part B, what I wanted you to give me is actually an NWD file. So be careful when you bring in your drawing to mark it up. When you go save, it'll default to NWF. So you want to make sure you save it as NWD before you give it to me. So basically, it's simple as save as. NW already NWD, so it won't let me do it. But you can change the settings here and just save it as NWD. All right. So now back to this thing here. You usually what you do, you will bring in, for example, the architectural. Then so you start off with a blank file. Then you just append the architectural. All right. Or you can open the architectural to start off with. It's another option. But then after that, you can't keep opening, say, the mechanical or the electrical or whatever, because it can only open one file at a time. So to add more files into here, you got to append and bring them in that way. All right. So whatever that might be, all right, it can be any of these files. All right, DWGs, DGNs, whatever file. All right. So, all right, so that's that one there. The other thing is, of course, we've got to refresh here, and that we won't really need it. But in an office where things get updated all the time, you want to click refresh every so often to bring in the latest version of, say, the mechanical or whatever maybe have been updated in the last hour or two. All right, so that's that. File options, won't worry about that. Select is obviously you've got a pointer, you've got a box for selecting. There's a few other selection things to look at. Okay, select or deselect none. That's straightforward. Selection tree means the selection tree is on, and you find these things like yesterday. You find them all over the place. So I can turn it on and off. As I said from yesterday, selection tree is one of the most important things you need to have, a bit like the project browser in Revit, and you can sort of minimize it to the left by clicking the little pin. That's what I did. There you go. So now it's gone off to here. All right. Down here we got this thing here. This is sort of important. At the moment it's set to geometry. Geometry or last is last object is the general way of working, but you don't have to. For example, yesterday I clicked onto one of these windows and he highlighted that window. Now, that's because I was set to geometry. So if I was set to layer, for example, and click on that window, it gets everything on that particular layer. So what did we get? Selection tree. All right, so we've got obviously the layer is this higher level thing here, so it just picked up everything on level 3. If I click here, it gets everything on level 2. So that's sort of the hierarchy. So what else have we got here? Of course, you can get the file, and this is useful as well, because if this is not really made up out of many files as such, I don't think. If I go here and I move up, you can see it's only one. Hang on, there's oh no, there's a few files here, so different files. So if I set it to file, I can click on. Actually, that's the whole file it's picking up in this one. Sometimes if depending how it's made up, you can actually just pick up the mechanical or just the architectural drawing. Okay, so this basically picks up the whole thing. It's a bit like picking up the link in Revit or the whole XREF as such. All right. So if I just have a look at this a bit more here, these are the other ones that are a bit obscure and not very often used. So yeah, either last object or geometry usually works, or layer is the main thing we use here. So I'll leave it on geometry for now. All right. What else is there? Find items. Yes, well that's just on here, so we can search for something. Hide all, unhide all. So if I go here, there's nothing. Oh, hide. Where's the hide gone? Lost it. It's over here. There it is. So I can hide that item. You have selected an object which is an instance of multiple times. Performing this operation would change all instances of the object, not just those selected. So I go OK. So in theory, it's hidden. From what I can see, I think it's hidden all of those there, or not. Which ones to hide? I'll just unhide all for a minute. Oh, there's other stuff back here which I didn't realise. Okay, not sure what that is. Let me just have a look around. Oh yeah, there's other stuff that was hidden. I didn't realise that was there. Okay, so obviously they've blocked in the rest of the hospital there. All right, so if I click on here, I can hide that. Now if I picked on that particular thing there, I can hide, and that comes up, and that's hidden. Okay, so if I zoom in here, but I can't zoom in there, there you go. So that window in theory is not there. So I can actually now click the furniture inside that window. So that's one way of getting in there. All right, if I click over here, I can't get in there. All right. So we can maybe walk through there now. All right, so that's how you can use hide a bit. If I had a set to the layer selection, I could have hidden a whole row of windows. So here I can go, for example, if I click on there. Right, so then I can then go, okay, well that's not good, because for this is a good example. For this is not good. If I want to turn off a chair, it's not much good to me going geometry. So here I'll go back here and say, okay, I've got to change this. Let's see what the last object does, for example. Much the same, okay? So if we go here, let's see if the layer works on this one. That's not right. Should be able to get the whole thing then. What else have we tried? First object, last object, unique. I don't think any of these. There you go, that one there. So that one there, first object, will pick up the whole chair. So if I right click here, there's a few other options you can do with this as well. Focus on item. It sort of brings aim to view, but you knew where that was anyway. And also I think you can, if I go to, in theory, if you got, it's a bit like Revit as well. If you got something selected, I'll go back to the outside, might be better. It's a little home button here under the view cube. You can hardly see it there. It always will take me out there to that default view. If I selected this thing here, I should be able to pivot around that or that position, that column, to be hard to tell from inside. But all right, so depending what you pick, if I pick that, I'm swiveling around that now. All right, so that's another thing you can do in Revit and Navisworks. All right, so moving along, that's basically, just escape that. Basically, that's all we've got in this one here. Quick properties links. Right, rendering. There is an exercise on rendering. I think we can do as well later on. View properties. Viewpoint. Sorry. Viewpoint. We've got one I want to show you is this one here, and that's the render mode. Sorry about that. This sectioning here automatically went to that for me because I had something else set up earlier, but it gives you this cube, but that's because I have it on box. Usually you might have it on planes, in which case it doesn't do anything. Well, not that you can tell. If I just zoom out, you can see, and I've got this thing unhidden, that's why this thing is there, but I can always click on it and hide that as well. Back to here. So I've got this plane here, so I can move the plane by moving that little square thing that relates to the what's parallel with the plane. So move it up, move it across. I don't know where it's gone because I'm only doing it in 2D and I don't know which way I'm going. But if I have a look over here, it's actually over there, so not much good there. Move it there. Yeah, I find this a bit difficult to use because it's just hard to know where it is in this sense. But you can go, I think you can go from the top as well. There you go. So you can, I don't know, well, that moves it up. But the one I like to use more, if you cut, what I've done, just to show you what I've done so far here, is actually I've cut a bit through there and I can actually see inside this thing here. All right, so I'll just leave that there because it's going to be a longer, I'll continue on in a second, a long video. So that, going back to the viewpoint, where this sits on, sorry, here. Viewpoint, you can enable it, but then it goes off to the sectioning tool. This just pops up. So here, what I like to usually put it on is, now with the planes, by the way, you gave me plane 1, but you can actually have, zoom out, you can actually turn on different planes. So you can turn on plane 1 and plane 2. And I don't know what plane 2 is now because I can't see it. But it's obviously somewhere along here because it's cut this thing right down. I just can't see it. Is it on? Let's have a look. No, yes it is. So you can turn it, there's 2 of them on, there's 3 on, but where are they all? So let's turn on this box thing. The box, I find it a bit easier. Let's see how it goes. But you can do a lot of, with the planes you can also rotate them. So if I go here with the box, you can move it around, but you can section fit, so that, hang on, come out. So that fits it to the whole thing to start with, all right? Very hard to operate sometimes. There is this perspective thing, which you can change to orthographic. That might be easier. But okay, if I click, that moves it up and down. See that? The whole box. Where are we? So over here, that'll move it that way. All right. And this one here, in theory, I should grab it. Should make it bigger. Hang on. Show why I've got it on fit. Where have I got it on? Item tool. You can rotate it as well. There's a rotate there. So you can do fun, and the planes are the same. You can rotate them as well. Let's go back to rotate. Anyway, you might have to muck around with that. You can scale it up. That's the other thing you can do with this, and you can just. Actually, I can't see it. Is it gone off? Focus on item, hold, scale, reset, transform. Yeah, you can do a whole lot of other things there. And of course you can save viewpoint from here as well, or here. Once you get it to look right, then you can come back to that later. We'll just leave that on there.